The movie begins with Kane, a skilled MMA fighter, entering his brother Sam's luxurious office. Sam, a notorious mobster and gambler, is known for his shady dealings and cold demeanor. Kane, desperate and frustrated, confides in Sam about his struggles. Despite his talent in the ring, Kane has been overlooked by the MMA promoter, leaving him unemployed and facing financial hardships. With no other options, Kane asks Sam for a large loan. Sam initially dismisses Kane's request with a smirk, displaying his tough and unyielding nature. But then, Sam reveals that throughout Kane's career, he and his crew have bet heavily on Kane's fights. Surprisingly, Sam accuses Kane of being the reason their bets failed, because Kane always fought to win. Kane, deeply offended, defends his honor. He explains that he has always been proud of his integrity as a fighter, refusing to throw matches for money. This strikes a nerve in Sam, who reluctantly admits the truth. He confesses that he and his men rigged fights, betting against Kane by favoring his opponents. They had orchestrated Kane's losses to make easy money, betraying Kane's trust. Despite the hurt and betrayal, Kane is in no position to refuse help. Sam, seeing his brother's desperation, offers him a dangerous way to earn the money he needs. Reluctantly, Kane agrees, stepping into a world he had always avoided. Soon after, Sam assigns Kane a risky task: to steal a mysterious black envelope from a woman carrying a large sum of cash. Kane follows through, but during the escape, the woman chases after him and is tragically hit by a car. The sight of her lying injured shakes Kane immediately. Overcome with guilt, he decides to help her. However, as he returns to her side, police arrive at the scene. Misunderstanding his intentions, they arrest Kane. At the station, Kane explains his actions, and the officers uncover a deeper connection to a string of thefts plaguing the city. At that moment, Police Chief Jack reveals a shocking truth that Sam is the mastermind behind the crimes. Jack even lays out evidence showing how Sam manipulated people into borrowing money, only to have it stolen later. The envelope Kane took was part of this scheme, forcing innocent borrowers to repay stolen funds. Jack then offers Kane a chance to redeem himself by helping the police catch Sam. However, Kane, loyal to his brother despite everything, refuses. His decision leads the police to suspect that Kane might be as guilty as Sam, dragging him further into this problem. Before being sent to his prison cell, Kane was brought to an interrogation room where he met Sergeant Ron, a tough and merciless officer. The interrogation quickly turned violent as Ron began beating Kane relentlessly. Even though Kane was in handcuffs, his MMA skills helped him fight back. But with his hands restrained, the fight was uneven, and Kane was eventually overpowered, left bruised and battered. Kane was then sent to Belmarsh Prison, a notorious facility housing England's most dangerous criminals. The moment he arrived, the inmates saw him as a new target. They wasted no time in ganging up on him, ready to show him the brutal rules of prison life. Kane tried to defend himself as best he could, but prison fights were nothing like the controlled environment of an MMA match. Here, he was outnumbered and outmatched, unable to fight more than one person at a time. His tactics failed, and eventually, the prisoners cornered him. They beat him viciously until he lost consciousness. When Kane woke up, he was confronted with a horrifying reality. Half of his jaw and most of his teeth had been destroyed. He had to undergo a painful surgery, where doctors replaced his jaw with a prosthetic and gave him iron teeth. The cold, metallic replacements gave him a fearsome appearance, one that only deepened his sense of isolation. After several days in the infirmary, Kane's mother, Rebecca, visited him in prison. Her face was filled with worry as she saw the toll prison life had taken on her son. Rebecca explained that Sam, Kane's brother, had been too busy to visit him. Hearing this, Kane felt a storm of emotions. He knew his current situation was a direct result of Sam's criminal schemes. Yet he couldn't bring himself to tell his mother the truth, choosing instead to keep his silence. As the days went on, Kane refused to let the attacks from other prisoners break him. He continued training, pushing his body to its limits. He realized that the inmates were targeting him because they knew about his past as an MMA fighter. As a newcomer, he was also seen as an easy victim, a perception the prisoners reinforced with constant taunts. One fight escalated to the point where Kane was called to Warden Romy's office. Kane explained that he was only defending himself, but Romy accused him of endangering others. As punishment, Kane's sentence was extended by 6 months. Though furious at the injustice, Kane chose to stay calm and focused. Back in his cell, Kane poured his frustration into training, sharpening his reflexes and building his strength. But Kane's curiosity about why he was being targeted wouldn't go away. One day, after another vicious fight, the truth finally surfaced. The prisoners revealed that someone had put a 20,000-pound bounty on his life. That someone was none other than Sam. The betrayal hit Kane like a punch to the gut. Rage and determination consumed him. He trained harder than ever, preparing himself for the constant attacks. Over time, Kane adapted to the chaos of prison fights. His reflexes became razor-sharp, and his movements were lightning fast. One by one, he defeated every prisoner who came after him, standing his ground even when outnumbered. Kane's transformation was more than just a change in attitude. It was a complete shift in his soul. Every punch he threw carried the weight of his anger and hatred for Sam. The 6-year sentence that loomed over him felt meaningless compared to his burning desire for revenge. Every day in prison fueled his obsession with making Sam pay. 3 years into his sentence, Kane's mother, Rebecca, visited him again. Kane had been planning to tell her about his overwhelming need to confront Sam, even if it cost him his life. But before he could speak, Rebecca shared heartbreaking news. This might be her last visit. Apparently, she had been battling cancer, and her time was running out. The news shattered Kane. Guilt consumed him as he realized that while Rebecca was facing her final days, he had been trapped in a cycle of violence and darkness. This visit reignited Kane's determination to escape and see her again, no matter the cost. Kane knew he needed a plan. Remembering Police Chief Jack's earlier offer to work together in taking down Sam, Kane decided to create chaos in the prison to force a transfer. He provoked the inmates, inciting a riot that left him badly injured. His condition demanded a transfer to a public hospital, just as Kane had planned. As expected, Jack came to the hospital. Kane seized the chance to strike a deal, agreeing to help the police catch Sam if he could visit his mother one last time. Jack agreed, and Kane's hopes soared. But when he arrived, it was too late. Rebecca had already passed away. Heartbroken and filled with rage, Kane felt an unbearable loss. In his grief-fueled fury, Kane lashed out at the 2 officers escorting him. He overpowered them and fled. His first destination was to find the man holding Sam's money, a man Kane soon recognized as his former MMA manager Stokes. At that moment, Kane demanded answers, but Stokes hesitated, his fear evident. In a desperate attempt to save himself, Stokes reached for a shotgun hidden in a drawer. Kane, relying on his instincts, stopped him just in time. He pinned Stokes down and made it clear that any further betrayal would endanger not only Stokes but his family as well. With no other option, Stokes revealed everything. Sam's criminal empire wasn't confined to one city, it stretched across continents. Sam lured victims by posing as a loan provider, but the loans came with hidden traps. Borrowers often found themselves drowning in debt, their lives controlled by Sam and his men. Those who couldn't repay faced horrifying consequences, as Sam ordered his henchmen to target their families in brutal displays of power. Kane listened intently as Stokes described the full extent of Sam's cruelty. Then Kane made a bold request. He demanded Stokes return all the money Sam had stolen from his victims and give him £15,000 for himself. Kane believed he was just as much a victim of Sam's schemes as anyone else. Stokes, however, warned Kane that escaping Sam's influence was nearly impossible. His network of spies extended even into law enforcement. This warning triggered a memory for Kane. He recalled Sergeant Ron, the officer who had beaten him during his interrogation. Kane now realized Ron was one of Sam's men, embedded within the police force. Fueled by this revelation, Kane set his sights on Ron. Using the information Stokes provided, Kane carefully tracked Ron's movements, waiting for the perfect moment to confront the man who had betrayed both the law and Kane's trust. Upon arriving, Ron admitted to being a corrupt cop. He explained that his low salary had pushed him into working for Sam's gang, trying to provide for his family. Before engaging Cain in another fight, Ron revealed a critical detail, where Sam and his gang often gathered at a bar Sam owned in the suburbs. This time, the fight between Cain and Ron was different. Cain's training in prison and his ability to use both hands freely gave him the edge. After a fierce struggle, Cain emerged victorious, leaving Ron behind as he pressed on with his mission. That night, Cain went after one of Sam's henchmen, Rook. His attack was brutal, leaving Rook dead and sending a chilling message to the gang. This caught the attention of another gang member, Towan, who initially tried to confront Cain. But after witnessing his ferocity, Towan's courage faltered, and he fled, prioritizing his survival. The next day, Cain entered Sam's bar, unaware that Towan and other gang members were inside. They were discussing the grisly discovery of Rook's body, which had been found with his hands severed. Towan, haunted by fear and guilt, kept quiet about his presence during the attack, unwilling to admit he had run away. Cain, knowing the truth, confronted Towan directly. He questioned Towan's claim of being absent, suggesting it was a lie to hide his cowardice. The accusation enraged Towan, who called on his friends to attack Cain. But Cain, battle-hardened and determined, fought them off with ease. As the chaos unfolded, Hyde, the bar manager and one of Sam's trusted allies, stepped forward. However, Cain quickly cornered Hyde, holding him at gunpoint. He demanded Hyde contact Sam, warning that if Sam didn't come, he would kill everyone in the bar. To underscore his threat, Cain threw Rook's severed hand onto the floor, a grim symbol of his resolve. Soon a knock came at the door. Sam and his men had arrived, responding to Hyde's call. As they entered, they found themselves caught in Cain's trap. Cain and Sam finally faced each other after years of separation. Cain wasted no time confronting his brother. He demanded to know why Sam had placed a bounty on his life in prison, paying inmates to kill him. He then revealed he had squandered all the money Sam had entrusted to Stokes, leaving Sam broke. Cain also disclosed that he had taken the names of everyone who owed Sam money during his time in prison, ensuring that each debtor received £15,000 to reclaim what was stolen from them. This, Cain explained, was his way of making amends for the harm Sam had manipulated him into causing. Sam, enraged by these revelations, ordered his men to attack Cain. But the Cain standing before them was no longer the man they once knew. Years of pain and relentless training had transformed him into an unstoppable force. Cain fought with unmatched strength and precision, defeating every henchman who dared to stand against him. When the fight was over, Cain turned to Sam. Despite everything, Cain couldn't bring himself to kill his brother outright. He hoped they could reconcile their broken relationship, remembering the bond they once shared as brothers abandoned by their mother. But Sam's heart was cold. Seeing Cain only as a threat to his criminal empire, Sam grabbed the shotgun Cain had used earlier and attempted to shoot him. The gun clicked, but it was empty. At that moment, Cain laughed bitterly at Sam's desperation. But Sam wasn't finished. Drawing a knife, he charged at Cain with the intent to kill. Left with no other choice, Cain defended himself in a final, heart-wrenching confrontation. In the end, Cain took his brother's life, standing over Sam's lifeless body with a heavy heart, burdened by the weight of what he had done. Leaving the wreckage of the bar behind, Cain walked out into the night, his steps heavy with the weight of what had just transpired. He turned to the barmaid, instructing her to deal with the aftermath, the lifeless bodies scattered across the floor. As Cain stepped into the open air, he paused, letting the cool breeze wash over him. In that moment of quiet, Cain reflected on everything he had done and the path that had led him here. Meanwhile, across town, a man drowning in debt checked his bank account out of habit, expecting to see the usual zero balance. To his shock, he found £15,000 deposited in his account. The unexpected windfall felt like a miracle, a lifeline that offered a chance to escape the crushing weight of his debts. At the police station, Jack sat at his desk, going through the latest reports. One file caught his attention. It detailed how victims of Sam's criminal network had not only recovered the money stolen from them, but had also received additional compensation. A satisfied smile spread across Jack's face. It was clear to him that Cain had fulfilled the mission, striking a decisive blow against Sam's empire while helping those who had suffered the most. So the moral of the story is, borrowing money from a mobster brother is like asking a shark to babysit. It's bound to go horribly wrong. And while punching your way through life might seem cool, maybe just hug your mom and leave the bar fights for action movies.